David Baldacci is the author behind several gripping novels and series for both adults and young adults.
The final book in the Vega Jane series was released today. It's called The Stars Below, The Final Showdown.
David's joining us now to share more about bringing this wildly popular series to an end. Welcome, David. Thank you for being here again.
Thank you.
All right, we are so excited to have you. And was there an incredible amount of pressure on you to write the final episode?
Well, I think it was a lot of internal pressure. I wanted to end the story with a resounding bang. I wanted to do it justice for the 3 books that came before it. So it took about a year and a half to write The Stars Below, and it was every bit of that time to put it all together with a lot of loose ends and a lot of things that I needed to tie up.
Wow.
So it's interesting because you've written so many books and so many have become movies and all this, but this was sort of a new venture for you to write for young adults. How is that different? Why did you decide to do that?
Yeah, my wife gave me a blank page book on Christmas Day in 2008, and that was a big mistake. Don't give blank paper to a writer on a major holiday. So I like disappeared for the rest of the day. Where did Dad go? I don't know. So I started writing the finisher, the first Vega Jane novel. And I think one reason I did it was because I loved reading fantasy when I was a kid. I was a big Lord of the Rings fan and C.S. Lewis Carroll. And that really had an impact on me. It made me a reader really for life, which is one reason I'm a writer today. It's because I was a reader early on in life. And a fantasy, if you understand, it really liberates your imagination. My adult books, I have to sort of ground that in reality. I can't have a Secret Service agent whip out a wand, to take care of a bad guy. That would not really work. But you can do that in a fantasy. And so I was able to build literally a world from scratch and put every element into that world that I wanted. And for a writer, that's an immense challenge, but also really, really appealing. And I think that's one reason I spent 5 years writing the first novel, The Finisher. It was a long journey. Many times I didn't think I was going to be able to finish the book, but I finally did. And I was really glad that I did.
Vega Jane, is she someone in your life? Is it your mother, your grandmother, your daughter? Who is it?
It's a little bit of all of them. I mean, Vega Jane is a very strong, independent young woman. She doesn't accept things that people tell her that they're true, whether she wants to determine for herself, she wants to think for herself. I grew up with very strong female role models my entire life. I'm married to one. We raised one, my oldest child. And so I think I have a good grounding in that perspective and point of view. And I've never met a damsel in distress, so I don't write about them. I don't know what that would look like, actually. So she represents sort of what females represent for me. And I think it's a very positive role model. But that's not to say that she doesn't make mistakes, particularly in The Stars Below. She makes mistakes, she fails, she falls down. She trusts people she should. Sometimes she doesn't trust people that she should and makes bad choices, which we all do in life. But she gets back up, she learns from her mistakes, and she moves forward and gives her a chance to succeed. She has an opportunity, and I think that's really a template for life.
So we also, you've been so philanthropic, and people might not realize it, but you've been very involved with the Mark Twain House here, right, in Hartford. And I guess you gave a $25,000 award which would help writers. So we appreciate that, and tell us about your connection to the Mark Twain House.
Yeah, I've been a Twainiac, as we're called, ever since I read Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, and I love Mark Twain, his writings, and I was proud. I came up and spoke at the Mark Twain House about 10 years ago. They asked me to become a board member, which I did. Then we had an idea for a gala, and I had my friends John Grisham and Jody Picoult come. We did a big event in New Haven at Yale for that. It raised a lot of money for the Mark Twain House, so I'm really involved in it. And then we came up with the idea for the Mark Twain Literary Award, and I've been funding that for the last 4 or 5 years and will continue to do so. He is probably one of the most prominent, well-known writers in the world, the first truly essential American writer. And if we can't celebrate a writer like that in this country and celebrate the home where he wrote most of his important works, then something's wrong with us as a country. So it's my delight and pleasure to be able to partner with the Mark Twain House to keep his legacy alive.
David, you're sitting in Enrico High School. 2 questions. Did you ever believe you'd be where you are today? And did your teachers ever believe where you are today?
That would be no and no. I really wanted to be a writer since I was a kid, but making a living as a writer, it's a long shot. It's like trying to make a living as an actor. The odds are long against you. So I just worked away, for well over a decade at trying to become a writer of short stories, and I moved into screenplays and teleplays and finally novels. But I had a lot of good teachers along the way who helped me. My 4th grade school teacher, ironically enough, was named Mrs. English, and she instilled in me a love of writing and also of reading. I had teachers in college and law school. In law school, my classmates were out trying out for law review and moot court. I was back in my apartment in Charlottesville, Virginia, trying to write short stories and sell them, to publications like The Atlantic, Monthly, and even Playboy magazine, which back then they published a lot of great fiction.
Wow.
So I had a lot of support among teachers, and they were a very important influence in my life, but I don't think any of them thought that I would be here today.
Well, we're glad that you are.
And it's good for all those people reading your books to know that, hey, it's not always obvious, right?
Exactly. Thank you, David.
That's right. It can happen. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Again, The Stars Below, The Final Showdown, is available now and in stores and, of course, online as well. So if your kids are looking for new books, or maybe you want to read with them.
Absolutely.